Hey everybody, my name's Sean. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Sean.
I didn't want to be redundant and introduce myself as a visitor, but I am a visitor. I've never been to this group before, and it's good to be out here tonight. Some groups definitely have a, like a feeling of depth when you walk into them, and I'm experiencing that here tonight, and I feel a little, nervous, maybe a little shaky. And I'm telling you that just so you know, I'm not detoxing right now. It's just a function of, I want to carry a message that I think reflects the quality of this group. And my sobriety date is August 15th of 2010. And I have a home group. It's the Way of Life group of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we meet on Monday nights in downtown Raleigh at 124 South Salisbury Street. And we have a couple different kinds of meetings there. We do have a group. It's not just a meeting. We have a group of people that participate there. However, it is definitely more ad hoc than I think this group is. This group seems very well put together. Somebody really harassed me when I got here, getting me to fill out a card for something. I don't even think our group has a pen. We got coffee. That's really all that matters. And I have a sponsor. His name's Peter Gilbert, and he's been my sponsor for the last 5 years. And prior to that, I'd worked with a sponsor that moved to Virginia, and prior to that, I had my first sponsor. And I guess maybe just to get out of the way, Alcoholics Anonymous has changed my life through working the steps. The obsession to drink has been lifted from me one day at a time, and I believe that the process that I participate in is effective for anybody that takes the same action. And my message tonight isn't look at what Alcoholics Anonymous has done for me. It's hopefully an advertisement of what Alcoholics Anonymous can do for somebody that's in here that's suffering and broken and hurting like I was when I came here. And I came here a lot before I actually got better. And I hated Alcoholics Anonymous. I could not stand it. I couldn't stand the people that were here. I couldn't stand the churches that the meetings were held in. I couldn't stand myself for being back in an AA meeting, because one of the biggest motivators for me to try and do better in life was I'll just do whatever it takes to not have to go back to those meetings anymore, or go back to the places where the meetings are brought into. And I really didn't believe that what AA offered would be effective in my life. It was a mix between kind of disbelief of that AA worked for anybody, and really not wanting what AA had. I didn't want. I wanted to drink. I wanted to feel the relief that I got when I drank. I just didn't want to experience consequences anymore, and I intuitively knew that wasn't what Alcoholics Anonymous was offering me. And it was a very strong feeling of distaste, especially at speaker meetings. I had this idea that and I don't really know how far off this is from the truth, especially when you have somebody that's selected to pick the person that speaks. But in my mind, the people that spoke at meetings were from an upper crust of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that they were some sort of authority figure, and they were telling me what I should do. And I have I always struggle with issues with authority, and I just, an AA meeting that had a speaker was just a perfect opportunity for me to sit and hate myself and hate the group and hate the speaker. And what changed for me was that I got broken by alcohol, and those kind of reservations, and really the energy that it took to have all that emotion was drained from me. I didn't make a decision to become open to Alcoholics Anonymous. I truly feel like I got lucky in my kind of path of brokenness intersected with people that were carrying a message of non-theoretical AA of this is the action that I took, and I'll show you how to take it. And another thing that I always think about when I speak, especially after sharing my sobriety date, is like, for me, it sounds like when I say my sobriety date is 12 years ago, it makes it seem like, I don't know, that like there's like a magnitude associated with the amount of time that I've been sober, and I don't feel that way for me. That like I feel like I'm engaged in this, one day at a time still. That like I'm just as incapable of not drinking on my own as when I got here. I still need Alcoholics Anonymous like I did when I got here, and that's crazy for me because my life is a lot different than it was when I got here. I became homeless pretty abruptly. I don't know if anybody plans on being homeless, but it happened seemingly quickly for me, and I didn't have a lot of time to kind of like get my stuff together. I didn't pack very well for my homelessness, and when I ended up at the shelter that I ended up at, I had 2 trash bags, and the things that were in those trash bags was like the most mind-boggling things that like nobody that was trying to prepare themselves for survival outside would have packed the things that I packed, and like a disproportionate number of like pants to jackets. I had like 2 pairs of underwear and like 5 jackets, and I had I remember after being stable for a little while in the place that I was staying, I had gotten a drawer and I had to empty one of the bags out, and I found like documents. So in like my like haste to prepare, for some reason, like I thought I needed to bring those court slips with me, that like I was going to need those where I was going. And I didn't, they had all of those documents for me waiting. They weren't like, oh, well, you don't have that slip, so you're off the hook. But I was just crazy. I was out of my mind. And, like I said, I resisted Alcoholics Anonymous a lot. And, just a very abbreviated version of like, I go through the steps, my life changes, I leave that homeless shelter, I get a job, still active in Alcoholics Anonymous, I leave that job, I start a different job, I decide I need to go to school, I go to school, I get into a school that's difficult to get into, I get my undergraduate degree there, I get my master's degree there, I get a girlfriend, I lose a girlfriend, I get another girlfriend, I get engaged, get married, get a job, have a baby. My life is so different than it was when I got here, and I still know just deep down that like I'm not too far away from that person I was when I got here. Like I'm separated from that person by my continual participation in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I share that not because it's important for y'all to hear it, maybe it is, but it's important for me to say that. It's important for me to remember that like this isn't my doing. I didn't architect this plan. This is something that is like I've been lucky enough to participate in. I guess also to kind of briefly touch on, 2 of the other important things that I listed in the beginning. What like my home group has been so important for me. I joined that group when I was about 2 years sober, and a lot of the people that are at that group right now, they think I started that meeting, but I actually didn't. I don't tell them that frequently, but I really didn't start that meeting. I participated in a lot of the kind of wind up to getting the meeting started, but I had a commitment at a group called Gratitude that I wanted to finish before I joined that group, and but I did eventually join that group, and it's been more consistent than me doing inventories, more consistent than me being current with a sponsor, more consistent than me being truly helpful to other alcoholics has been my commitment to being at that group on Monday nights. And I really don't know where I would be if I didn't have that group in my life, if I didn't have, something that happened along with that like breaking that took place was I surrendered to some concepts, and one of the concepts was the idea of like committing to a home group. Now I don't know why that is, why that one was like, okay, well, yeah, I guess I'll do that forever. But it's kept its place in my life since then. That like me going to my home group is not a it's not something I think about on doing. It's not can I make it work? It's just this is what happens for me on Monday nights, and I know that's played a huge role in my ability to stay sober. And then I guess the other important thing that most speakers around here start off with is that sponsorship, and how that is still so important and impactful for me today. I talk to my sponsor every Wednesday, and the goal of our talk is for me to share with him things that I'm resentful about, things that I'm afraid about, what action I'm taking in Alcoholics Anonymous, how I'm being useful to other people, and try and read some literature. And the consistency of that is something that's been really beneficial for me as well. Prior to being sober and in my sobriety, I'm undisciplined, and I'm bad at doing things consistently. I'm really good at starting things, but I'm bad at maintaining, especially healthy things. Like, those are the easiest ones for me to let go of. But these things are things that for some reason I've been able to continuously do, and I feel like I continuously reap the rewards of that, because like today I didn't find it necessary to take a drink. And that, like, to take a step back, like, that is an insane thing for a person like me to not do, to like not drink today. That, like, I have more resources at my disposal than I did when I got sober. I have less oversight than I did when I got sober. My mind is still wired in that way. I seek relief. And so that I made it here, today without the thought. I didn't fight temptation today. The idea of drinking didn't cross my mind, and my life was good without that. And I didn't think about how I might think about drinking tomorrow. Or, the only reason I'm thinking about drinking is because I'm speaking about it. And that's a marvel. That is an insane thing. And I never believed that this would take place in my life. The best I thought Alcoholics Anonymous could do for me was maybe teach me enough aversion techniques that I could make it kind of claw through a day without drinking, and fight. Like, I could somehow get a tool that would allow me to fight off temptation constantly, and that seemed like a really bad deal for me. Like, that seemed like a painful and stressful existence. I never believed that life could be smooth and life could be peaceful, and that I could experience a sense of ease without the oblivion that came when I drank. And all of this is just a really good deal for a person like me. And I think a lot of these things are highlighted by my son is 3 months old, and being a new dad is it definitely brings a lot of that up. It brings up the razor that I walked on that allowed me to be here, how easily it could have gone a different way, and how my recovery has impacted hopefully people in Alcoholics Anonymous in a positive way, but his existence is predicated on my sobriety. If I wouldn't have gotten sober, he wouldn't be here. And I had a very negative impact on the world around me when I was drinking. The man that looks up after the tornado's gone, just wreckage all around me, and how that's kind of inverted in sobriety, how I can have a positive impact, and I can not only destroy relationships, but I can create relationships. To see my mom with my son it's a crazy thing for me. When I say my mind isn't wired right still, I've heard people talk about I just want to drink a beer after I mow the lawn. That's not what I think about. I think about being in the gas station bathroom. You know what I mean? That's where my mind, that's still how my brain works with respect to getting intoxicated. I still, I don't fantasize about a cold Budweiser. I fantasize about a fifth of Evan Williams. It's not, so to be here tonight is just a crazy thing. Yeah, I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. I had a good upbringing. I have a older brother and older sister, a mom and a dad, and all of them not only like taught me but showed me what it meant to be a good person, what it meant to do the things that you say you're going to do, to think about other people, to be considerate of them. I deviated from that path as soon as I could. As soon as I had enough agency to make some decisions on my own, I picked wrongly more often than not. I also have a very vivid memory of being dissatisfied with life early on, that like what I believed to be like a normal human life seemed like kind of lackluster to me. Like I didn't want to get a job. I didn't want to like pay bills. I didn't want to have a family or responsibility. All those things seemed kind of like oppressively boring to me. And drinking, the first time that I got real drunk, I remember not that any of those problems got solved, but that like I just didn't care about that. I wasn't thinking about, how unhappy I'd be in the future or any of those. I was just okay where I was. And that was a powerful thing for somebody like me. And I didn't lose everything the first time that I drank. I didn't have any negative consequences, really. I enjoyed it, and I knew that it was going to be as my goal was for drinking to be as prevalent in my life as it possibly could be. And it took a little while for that dream to come to fruition, but I was asked to leave high school early. I went to a private school in Raleigh and was given like the option to either stop going to that school or I could do some paperwork over the summer and graduate early. And I took option B, and I believed, in my sick mind, I even was like, I graduated from high school early, doesn't that show like a tenacity and a go-get-itness, and, like fancied myself a leader of vast enterprises, like look at how well I'm doing already. And, I guess I was like, school is my problem, all the rules here are the issue, and time for me to really spread my wings. And I got a job at a place called Andy's Cheeseburgers and Cheesesteaks, and I walked in, there was a strip mall right by my house, and I walked past it, and it had a sign on the door that said, hiring or whatever, and I was like, well, maybe I could get a job here, and I asked if they were, how the process works. I'd never had a job before, and the guy came around from behind the counter and was like, I'm so-and-so, and I'll interview you right now. And okay, so I'd never had a job before. I'd never gone through an interview, and not 45 seconds into the interview, I'm thinking about like, I'm gonna be this guy's boss. Like I'm gonna be in charge of this place. Like this is, just insane. And I'm not even drunk. This is just how my mind works. I'm just like, and this person is just like doing a kindness to me, like, sure, I'll interview you. And I immediately like hate him and want to dominate him. And like, where does that come from? I don't know, but like, just like he's talking and I'm not hearing any of it. I'm just seeing myself like on the side of the like Andy's truck, like my face. And, like I come back online. He's like, can you start? And I'm like, it's all coming together. And I had that job for like 6 weeks, and I just couldn't show up. I couldn't do the very basic things I can't do, which is in such contrast to what my mind tells me I will do at some point in the future. I'm up here in my mind and I'm down here in my actions. And no matter how many times like that evidence is presented to me by like either getting fired or being asked to leave wherever it is I'm staying, or failing out of whatever it is that I'm trying to do, I always default to like, I will be here. That was a fluke. That was a mistake. That was, that happened because of something other than me. And anyways, I got fired from that job and decided, I needed to go back to school. And, very short period of time between being asked to leave school and deciding I need to go back to school, my mind is telling me already, like flip-flopping of what the problem is, what the solution is going to be. But I do have like this like pretty insane drive once I think I have found my solution. So I'm like in the process of getting accepted into schools. I had applied to some pretty prestigious places like Wake Tech and Cape Fear, and I was waiting on my acceptance letter, and I got my first DUI. And that was not cool for me. Like I was like embarrassed, and I didn't plan that night to get as drunk as I ended up getting. I definitely didn't plan on driving that drunk. So this was like one of the first like big ones for me where I was like, something happened that night that I'm not, I don't really know what it was, but I want to not experience that again. And like, there was kind of like the like skeleton of maybe doing something different with respect to drinking, but it never got fully fleshed out. It was just like, I should investigate that a little bit. But that like quickly went on the back burner. I managed to like I lost my license, but they make scooters, so that'll be okay. And I got into Cape Fear, and I was so, proud of myself. And Cape Fear is a great school. I'm not trying to knock anybody that goes there. It is a community college, and they don't turn down a lot of people. And but my pride at that accomplishment was not, I got an overinflated ego as a result of getting accepted to Cape Fear. And, I remember like being kind of like disgusted by my mom that she wasn't happier with me. Like, geez, like what does it take for you? Like I can't do anything to please you. And, which wasn't the case. She was just like, good. Yeah, good. You got into a community. That's awesome. Go for it. And, I got a scooter, and, I moved into an apartment in Wilmington. So I went from Raleigh to Wilmington. I had a truck take the scooter, and I remember like the truck driving away after the scooter being taken off it, and just thinking like, things are about to come up, Sean. Like it's about to be different. I truly did. I had a clean slate. I had a way to get around. DUI in the past, school in front of me. Everything's gonna be fine. I think I'm gonna do okay. And like that didn't happen. I went to school for a little while, and I eventually got a job waiting tables, and I was, then I was like making. I thought I was a millionaire. I was getting cash every day, and it was a small amount of cash, but I like this is enough for me to like, be okay. And so I don't really need school anymore. Like this is it. And so I stopped going to school, and I never planned on drinking to like, inch back into like the number one spot in my life, but it did. It slowly took over. It slowly became more and more important than being a good employee or doing anything other than drinking. It was the most important thing for me to do. And so I this is the worst part. Like I didn't even drop out of Cape Fear. Like I kept enrolling over and over and over again. And so when I eventually did go back to school, it was really hard to dig myself out of that hole of like, it's one thing to like withdraw, but it's another thing to have like a straight just like D for your GPA. And the reason I did that is because it was like something I could point to of like why my life may be going okay. Well, I'm still enrolled in school, and eventually I got my license back, and oddly enough, I got both of the DUIs that I got were in the same truck, and neither time was like the truck like my primary vehicle. It was like a loaner truck. My car, the first car, was in the shop, and then the second car was not procured yet, but both times I got a DUI in the same truck, and that's what happened for the second DUI that I got. And the same kind of set of circumstances that had taken place surrounding that DUI were like, I overindulged. I didn't plan on getting that drunk, and I did anyways. And, you could ask me if I was stone cold sober, if like drinking and driving is a good idea, and I would say, no, that's like silly. Why would you do that? Just stay wherever it is that you are, or, have somebody else give you a ride. But, something I like driving when I don't know what it is, but like I get drunk and I just gotta go. I gotta go to the next place. I want to be wherever, and you know, it was like, I'm not blaming it on the truck, but the truck is like, you know, it's like this. It was big then. It's still around. It's my dad's truck. It's a 2500 HD, and it's like got a V8, and it's just got a very like, you know, pleasing reaction to flooring it, and but it drives like a boat too, kind of, so that also counts against it. So it's like, you know, you feel tough, so you add some like liquor to that, and it's easy to not drive well in it. And my second DUI was a lot worse than my first DUI. I actually got into an accident and somebody was injured, and you know, there's like, you know, a gap here where like between my first DUI and my second DUI, between moving to Wilmington with a fresh slate and kind of sullying that fresh slate and this second DUI, you know, I'm engaging in more and more illegal activity. I'm getting paraphernalia charges, trespassing charges. My life it's not going well, and I'm burning bridges quickly, and I'm asking for help a lot. Not in, hey, can you like help me fix my life, but hey, can you bail me out? Can you help me pay for this lawyer? Can you, you know, and like my family's getting sick of it. And I'm having these like kind of, I don't know what they are while I'm experiencing them, but what they are moments of clarity where I'm seeing myself for who I am. And I'm seeing that like the consequences that I'm experiencing are because of the actions that I'm taking. And that things aren't going to change unless I change. But they're very like temporary. They're just flashes, and they don't stick long enough for me to do anything with them. They just make me feel bad and cry in the shower and then move on. And you know, this second DUI that I got, like the immediacy of the guilt that I felt and the absolute awareness that like that person's injury is my fault. I'm a liability to people around me and myself. It would be better for me and for the people around me if I just didn't make decisions for myself anymore. It happened just right away. As soon as the impact took place, I knew I was the problem. And I knew that, you know, I should have consequences for this. And there was no resistance for me when the police officers came of just like, yeah, I'm fucked up. I'm messed up. I should not, you know, be driving right now. And, you know, you should take me to jail. And they're like, yeah, well, we're going to. And when I got to jail, I didn't have anybody that would bail me out. I was like Blue Clay Road or something for 10 days. And I spent that 10 days obsessed with how life is going to be different because now I've experienced a sufficient bottom. This is without AA's input in my life. I just know, you know, for a fact that like now that I'm experiencing this pain, this anguish that I have, and I know that I hurt somebody else badly, now I've experienced what it'll actually take for me to do something different with my life. So a lot like the scooter being dropped off and thinking, you know, things are about to change. Now I'm starting to do that with a consequence. Like something bad has happened, but I kind of too quickly find the silver lining in the consequence that I'm experiencing by saying, well, now things are really going to change. I'm really going to have to be different now that I've experienced this. This new consequence is actually going to be the answer for me. And alcoholics understand that, but that is an insane way to twist a chain of events. Like this problem is actually the answer. That's not how problems and answers work. They're different things. And on top of that, I believe that like the period of time where I just had to sit and think about how bad my life was and how bad what I did was, and I did all that sober, you know, all of that added to evidence for me that it really was going to be different when I got out of jail. And I got bonded out, and I lived in downtown Wilmington, and the bondsman's office was not far from where I lived, and I did not make it home without drinking. And the reason that is because when I got out of jail and that very short walk, the reality set in. You know, when I was in jail, I was delusional. I was in the land of make-believe about what the future had in store for me. And when I get out, what I start thinking about is, I'm gonna have to look at that person in court. I'm gonna have to explain to my dad that I got another DUI and that I hurt somebody, and I'm never gonna get my license back, and I'm definitely fired from that job. I'm already on probation, and I'm definitely going to jail, and I cannot afford a lawyer, and if I lose that job, I'm definitely gonna get kicked out of this place that I'm staying at, and just weight and desperation and fear, and I'm consumed by it. I can't just not think about that. It's the only thing I can think about. It's not even a thought. It's a guttural feeling of terror, and things are not going well, and they're never going to go well. And but you know what? Since things are already as bad as they are, I can drink. What's the worst that can happen if I drink? I'll get a lot, and I don't have a lot to lose. And the sad thing is how effective that drink was for me. That I didn't even need to drink enough to get drunk. It was the liquor being poured in front of me that produced relief. I knew I was about to feel better, and I started to feel better. And I got drunk, and I did feel better. And they talk about that in the doctor's opinion, or Dr. Silkworth brings that up of the effect produced is so powerful for me that I'll do anything for it. And, I think that's the point in my life where I can really point to being gripped by alcohol. That was definitely not the last consequence I experienced. It wasn't the last legal charge that I got. That wasn't, the last bridge I burned. But I think back on that point of my dependence on alcohol and my inability to make my life, just act better. I just couldn't do it. So I was just stuck in this spot of creating consequences, and the only thing that could give me some relief from those consequences was drinking. And then when I drank, I could not control the amount that I drank, and just that cycle over and over and over again. And it started to feel like I'd be barely getting out of the hole that I was in, just barely making a dent, and I would just dig myself deeper and deeper and deeper. And one step forward, two steps back is a bad proposition. I got way backwards and way down. And I didn't come to Alcoholics Anonymous because alcohol stopped working for me. The last time that I drank, I still got drunk, and I experienced some relief from that drink. The price associated with those last drinks got greater and greater and greater. But I didn't just decide, I'm not going to drink anymore because it's not working for me. And I didn't, but I couldn't depend on what kind of, what would go along with the relief that I experienced. And one of the things that started to creep into that relief was I would still feel guilty while I was drunk, and I would still feel isolated and alone and desperate while I was drunk. And one time when I was feeling really isolated and alone and desperate, I called my probation officer while I was drunk, and I came clean about all the things that I had been doing and all of the illegal things that were in my house. And I don't know what she said, but I know that she showed up there the next day, and she asked me if I meant those things that I said on the phone, which is a tricky question to ask, an alcoholic that said a lot of stuff while they were drunk. So I was like, maybe, is it good if I do? She told me that I made a cry for help, and she didn't really have the resources to help me, but what she did know is that I had done illegal things while on probation, and that that wasn't okay, and that I begged her, please let me come in tomorrow. I understand that you have to violate my probation. I get it. But I have some loose ends I need to tie up, and I did not have loose ends. There was nothing I could tie up, but she gave me. She was like, okay, come in tomorrow morning and do what you got to do, and we'll go from there. And she left, and I did what's known as absconding from probation. I ran back to Raleigh, and that's what the 2 trash bags came into play. I didn't know that I was going to need to skedaddle like that, but I did. I don't like jail, and I knew that that's where I was going to be going back to, and I ended up at the healing place in Raleigh, and just like the scooter being taken off the truck, and just like sitting in jail, when I got there, I knew things were about to be better. It's going to get different because of how bad it is right now. And I stayed sober there for 30 days, maybe. That's a pretty generous estimate of how long I abstained from any mind-altering substance. It didn't stick, and I don't know if it's still like this. It's hard to keep up with them. While I was there, you could utilize the healing place as simply as a shelter without participating in the program. So I got to the healing place in January of 2010, and I got sober in August of 2010. And so after my initial 30 days there, I had that 7 months where I just utilized it as a shelter, and I would get escorted off property in the morning, and then if they had spot in the shelter, I could come back at night, and I just kind of wandered around Raleigh for 7 months, and man, it sucked. Oh, I hated it. I hated it so much. I hated what it felt like to be, to feel like such a deep sense of lacking and dependency and scarcity, just all the time with everything, with food, clothes, drugs, alcohol, just everything felt bad. And I was having a rough time. And the thing is without participation in Alcoholics Anonymous, I have words now that can describe what I was going through, but people would say what's the matter with you? And I'd be I don't know how to tell you what is the matter. Everything is the matter with me. Nothing is going right. Nobody wants me around. Everything is hard all the time. I can't catch a break. That's what I believe. I believe that I was just getting just bad luck. And I would wake up and I would, now the moments of clarity aren't even attached to a specific consequence. It's just waking up in the morning and coming online and just a quick millisecond scan of my life, and it's just red flags, no, bad, wrong, everything's off. And knowing things need to change. And the discomfort of that feeling seems like it lasts so long, but really it would be just a few seconds. And then, I would get up and I would leave, and okay, well, yeah, that is true, but we need to get right before we start, making any big decisions. And just how that pattern, just I stretched that out for 7 months of doing that, and a very it was not a glamorous way to be an alcoholic. It's not it's not what I had in mind for myself. It wasn't. I didn't turn out the way that I planned, and I feel that way about Alcoholics Anonymous too. Of I didn't plan on getting this sober. I didn't plan on driving to Southern Pines to share my story. I didn't plan to be asked to give for Alcoholics Anonymous. When I got here, this wasn't part of my design, and those consequences in my life, they were not part of my design either. I did not want what I had, and I didn't know how to just cut it. I didn't know how to change something different, change to be something different. And I'm during that time, I'm experiencing AA in different forms, and a lot of it is speaker meetings, and a lot of it is in the environment of me just loathing all of it and hating myself and knowing that it's not going to work and it can't ever work, and also not really understanding what are you guys talking about? What do you do in Alcoholics Anonymous? What is this? You just come and sit here for an hour every day, and how is that going to help me? And it's not because people were saying that's what Alcoholics Anonymous was. That's just what I heard. That's just what I decided Alcoholics Anonymous was. That's what I decided people were saying. I didn't logic my way into this. I got broken enough to just say, I don't know. I have no idea what this is, but I have nothing left. I have nothing left to try. And, like how lucky I am. The people that carried me in Alcoholics Anonymous in the beginning are people that are still like giants in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the ones that are still around. And one of the people that actually did start the group that is my home group, who I'm pretty sure is still in prison right now. Great guy, but I don't think he's doing great right now. But I got to this place where I felt so low that I couldn't ask somebody what Alcoholics Anonymous was. I couldn't go to somebody and be like, can you please help me? I didn't think that I was worth it. I don't know what I thought, but I couldn't do it. But I could ask this person if they knew somebody that might know somebody that would be willing to help me. And that guy asked Jerry, and Jerry asked Todd, and Todd came and showed up to the shelter that I was staying at. So I think I asked on a Wednesday, because I remember it was after one of the speaker meetings, and the following Sunday, a man named Todd showed up and was like, hey, I heard you needed help. And I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, well, we're going to read this book. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And that's a crazy thing to do for him, to do that. And it's normalized in Alcoholics Anonymous. We do that all the time. But if you look at that action in a vacuum, that is just a crazy proposition. 3 degrees of separation on a Sunday morning to drive to a homeless shelter, to meet with a person you've never met before, and read close to them out of a book. Just read at them. And, that's what he did. And he showed up consistently. And I was in a spot where, for whatever reason, the consequence generated the willingness to abstain for long enough for some of those things to start resonating with me. And I can actually think back to one of the things that he said that started to sell me on Alcoholics Anonymous. He described, he gave me 2 examples of problems that he had risen above, and that was a real big key for me, that he didn't talk about how he managed those scenarios in his life, but how he kind of judoed them by worrying about something different and focusing on other people, and how those things just didn't matter to him anymore. It's not that they weren't, that they were made non-existent, or that the solution that he would have picked showed up, but they just didn't concern him anymore. And that seemed I like that. I like that way of that could be a very powerful tool to be able to, have in my life. And if that's one of the things that comes from working the steps, I want to dive deeper into this. And, he read the book to me. We took all the action as it was laid out. And we did an inventory. That was uncomfortable. He told me how to go through and make amends to the people that I'd harmed. And that was uncomfortable as well. There was a lot of discomfort associated with the steps. There still is for me. There still can be. That process of evaluating my actions and how they impact other people is not always fun. But it's worthwhile. It was worthwhile then, and it continues to be worthwhile today. I truly believe that I've been changed into a different person as a result of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I try my best to carry forward the type of things that people like Jerry and Todd showed me, how they treat other people in Alcoholics Anonymous. And the last thing I'll say is that it's super easy. Something that has been present for me lately is that it's so easy to forget what it's like to be a newcomer and to just talk at a newcomer, and how important it is to remember where my mind was when I was a newcomer in Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you're in here tonight and you're broken and confused, that's what we're here for. This is something that we participate in together. It's not a bunch of well people talking at you. It's saying, please, if you have our problem, you can participate in this with us. And so that's all I got. Thanks for sharing.